Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UT Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name's Johnny Reb from Southeast Rails. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the UT Mall Builders, the EMAG, and the UT Mall Builders live show. You can go to utmallbuilders.com and check there for presentations and the live show schedules. You can also sign up for the EMAG. That's free. It really is free. And JD and his crew does a great job on that. Tuesday night hangouts has got a great crew also. That's Gino, Troy, Dude, Barry, and Mike. And you also got Thursday night hangouts that are every week. Tuesday hangouts are every other week. So, and I want to thank everybody for joining the show tonight. Get over here and see who's in the panel. Well, looks like we got Phil, Jim, Mr. Hawks, Dave, Bill, Andy, and Andrew in Australia. So, I think, Jim, you said you had a question or a comment?
Yeah. I'm getting ready to do some mountain scenery. And my original goal was to go ahead and try the cardboard with the lattice and the plaster cloth. My last layout, as you guys remember that are here on a panel, I did styrofoam. I'm kind of sort of towards leaning the styrofoam again because of the mess of plaster. So I was just wondering what everybody else's thoughts were on either doing it in the cardboard lattice with plaster cloth or sticking with styrofoam.
Let me say, I built a dozen, 13 layouts. Pretty much every one of them were either screened wire in the very early days with plaster, and then later the cardboard lath strips. So I have a tremendous lot more experience with that method, cardboard lathing, than I do styrofoam. This is my first layout with styrofoam, and I will never go back again. But that's just my 2 cents.
Never go back to styrofoam or never go back to plaster?
I'll never go back to plaster again. Now, I'm working on a way of using vinyl screen over foam core supports in my peninsula just because of the sheer volume and size of it, and putting that scenery goop over top of that, and then back spraying the backside of it with spray styrofoam so the trees and shrubbery will have something to sink into. I'm going to experiment with that idea. So I kind of get the best of both worlds a little bit. But I personally would never do cardboard lath, and I stapled it initially, and then later hot glued. I will never do that again, and I will personally stay as far away from plaster as I can. I'm going to try the Bragdon spray or urethane foam here real soon to do rock molds with, because I don't even like plaster for rock mold. I like plaster for certain things. Plaster bridge abutments are awesome. They take stain like just awesome. They look like concrete, awesome. But in every other case, other than bridge abutments and those kind of details, I don't like plaster.
Me personally, I'd say it depends on how big the area is.
Well,
I mean, for you, Jim, you don't have that big an area. I would think I would go with foam personally on your layout, and a layout that John's doing. If we do any mountains there, it's going to be foam with plaster cloth on top.
Yeah, that's what a lot of guys in our club do. They do their basic shape with foam, and then they put one layer of plaster cloth over the top of it. Then they paint a slurry of plaster over it to rough it up, get rid of any joints in the plaster cloth.
What's the point of plaster cloth? Just so I understand where you guys come from. What's the point of putting plaster cloth over styrofoam?
That's what they do.
I know. I see people do it all the time.
Just holds the shape better. It makes it a harder surface in case somebody drops something on it or whatever, wants to push on it.
That's part of the reason that I like the soft surface. If I get up there and rest my hand on it and mess up, it doesn't crack and break and show a bunch of white plaster. It's my scenery is slightly spongy, which makes it very easy to plant shrubbery and trees into, and makes it very fault tolerant. If I drop a dribble on it by putting balance up or something, the worst case scenario, I break a tree at the stem or something. I would not damage the scenery. I love that latexy, rubbery quality. And if I was ever building a modular layout, a portable layout, I would definitely do it this way. But even on my permanent layout, I like it.
Yeah, because all the layouts I've been to a number of them around here. You know, everybody's still do the plaster cloth either over cardboard lattice or over the styrofoam, and I still just like it because it does give us some rigidity and stability, you know, in that form. I mean, like out there at the store, we use styrofoam on everything. The mount and everything's made out of styrofoam, but we covered it in plaster cloth because it's easier to paint and work with. Planting trees, I've never had a problem. I just take an awl, you know, hit it lightly with my hand, it just goes right in.
All right.
A tree in it.
And most people plant 100 trees on a layout. I've planted 300 so far in a 4-foot wide area. You do not want to poke that many holes. And they're really hard to find in the leaf understructure that I have. Just being able to shove them in the styrofoam is an invaluable. I mean, I agree with you. Most people do it foam with plaster over top of it. But it seems to me like plaster is destroying like one of the key benefits of the foam. To me. Just my 2 cents. And there's no wrong way to do it. I mean, if you dig the basement out and cover the dirt and concrete and it looks like a mountain, because that's been done before, and it looks like a mountain, then you're doing it right, no problem. But for me, it kills the biggest thing I love about the styrofoam. I don't like that hard surface. I don't even like the wire tool, the hot wire tool, because it puts too hard of a surface on the styrofoam. So I end up not using my hot wire and cutting it all with a utility knife so that the surface stays soft.
Well,
yeah. Another technique that I've seen people use, you know, that expanded white styrofoam. They get that and they just break it up and make pile, and then they put a layer of cloth over it. It's lightweight. That foam, you can get it every time you buy something these days. It comes with that styrofoam as padding. They just save it and they just break it up, pile it up to make the shape of the mountain, and put the cloth over it. Lightweight, strong.
Yeah, I've got a lot of that stuff I've been saving up for a couple of years.
And that's pretty close to Woodland Scenic's recommended technique and the technique that Combox tends to use, where they wad up newspaper and put hard shell scenery over top of that newspaper. And I've done that once on one of my very early 4x8 layouts, and the styrofoam might be okay. The wadded up newspaper ended up slowly collapsing underneath it, and the least touch caused the scenery to crack around the edges. So all my mountains ended up having cracks. So
over in the Q&A, Dwight, I saw your first message. Hope you get feeling better. He said Ron Klaus mountain scene is really nice. He did it with all cardboard strips and all. Curtis Hunt said, hope everybody's having a great night. You too, Curtis.
Oh yeah, Ron Klaus's scenery looks really. You can get the same end results no matter what your base structure is. It's all about what base structure appeals to you. You know, Ron had always done it the way, and he even said that I've always done it this way, and it works for me. So don't there's no reason to argue with that if you're happy with it. I hate the mess of dealing with plaster.
Well, and if in Ron Klaus's situation, and I did try to read those, Johnny, but I forgot my mic wasn't turned on.
Okay.
Ron Klaus's situation, now he's got super tall mountains and gorges, and I could see where the cardboard lattice, the plaster, would be a little easier to do because of those shapes. That would take a lot of styrofoam.
Oh, you'd have to do it the way he's doing it, or the way I'm talking about doing it with cedar and goop over foam core. You couldn't do styrofoam. That'd cost you a fortune.
Right, right. And I have my mountains ain't that big, and I think I have enough, hopefully enough 2-inch and 1-inch left over to do what I got to do. Hopefully I wouldn't have to buy another sheet of styrofoam, but I do have some of that, that white pebbly stuff that nobody likes.
I use that.
Expanded styrofoam.
Big, thick, heavy pieces that I seen in a dumpster when they were remodeling a store. They used that. They made like an inside valance across some lighting or something, and they had used that to do that with. And so there was some great big hunks. I mean, big hunks. Excuse me, that I grabbed and shoved in my truck real quick. So I got that to use.
Actually, down here, there's a company that white extruded foam. They're using it to make your molding go along the base of the wall, or any kind of molding, decorative molding.
Yeah.
They mold it out of that. Now, they have a paint that they put on it.
It hardens it.
Once they put that paint on there, boy, that stuff gets hard.
That makes
But
sense.
it's very lightweight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
basically
use
there's
a
two
lot.
types. There's basically two types of foam: extruded, which is your things like your pink foam and your blue foam. White foam, usually when they talk about white foam, it's an expanded one. They just pour it into a big tub, let it expand up. It comes up in that bubbly, like marble type stuff. It's all stuck together.
Yeah,
and
there's two different kinds. You also have a closed cell and an open cell foam.
Yeah, that's what I was
The
gonna
open
say.
cell is a little bit more flimsy, breaks easier. The closed cell is a little bit more rigid, and that's why a lot of your coolers, like companies that ship meat and all, they use the closed cells so that because they hold the cold a lot better.
Well, and Florist foam is if muddy was not an object, my whole layout, the whole top surface of my layout would be Florist foam, but I am using it a little bit because it's super easy to put trees into. I love working with the Florist foam. It's just too expensive.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Hey, John. Hi, everybody.
Good.
Well, Andy, you said you've used that hot wire. I was going to buy a hot wire because that, as anybody see me, I was using razors and drywall saws and
Big bread knife.
electric turkey carving knife and
Yeah.
fillet knife, or whatever you want to call them. I mean, I've used all kinds of stuff, but I was thinking that hot wire for getting around curves and cutting 45s and
Yep.
stuff like that would seem to be a lot easier.
It is, and it's fast as Greg's Lightning. So,
Is it pretty fast, the real thin wire ones?
Well, it depends on which one you buy. I've got the Tippy hot wire knife, and you have to go a little slower with it, although it's more of a detail hot wire knife for foam. But you also got to remember when you burn that foam, it seals it, and
Right.
it's a bear to do anything with or to get to take paint and all like that. So,
better believe it.
I mean, for what you're doing, Jim, I mean, the size you've got, just go ahead and use your knife as solid and all that.
Yeah.
Actually,
Now, the hot wire is nice for cutting structural elements, like cutting layers and stacking them up. But if you're cutting the area that the scenery is going to adhere to, it's going to make your life pretty difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it stinks really bad, so I guarantee you, your wife is not going to let you cut it in the house.
Well, my wife don't like me anyway, so I'm not too worried about.
Yeah, no, she will run you out of the house. She is
It
not going
does
to
have
let you do that.
Hey,
'Cause
Jim.
that smell does not leave very quickly.
No, it don't. Something weird about it.
Hey, Jim, you got a fish store around you?
A fish store?
Yeah, or a saltwater store?
No.
If you run out of styrofoam, you can go up to a live fish store or a saltwater shop. We used to get packages from like Indonesia, stuff like that, Hawaii, that the fish or corals were shipped in, and
Right.
those styrofoam containers are excellent for making mountains.
Right. I know
And
exactly what
fish
you're
store
talking about.
the fish store will just give it to you.
Well, it depends on which one. I used to try to get those. They started charging for them.
Oh no, shoot! Any of those fish shops down there in Ann Arbor, Ipsy, all up to Lansing, they'll give that stuff away for free.
That's
They
3
got
hours.
an overabundance of them. They just throw them out.
That's 3 hours away for me. So.
Well, I
Well,
mean, you know.
Yeah.
Let's
No, I
say
know what
for
you're
an
talking about though,
example.
because when I go in and get, if I was buying enough fish, they'd usually throw one of those in for me because I do have that 3-hour drive.
Right.
But
I use the white foam as a structural element to fill out areas where the peak foam is going to cover it. I don't have any white foam that's exposed to the underlying scenery because it really is affected by cates much more than even the peak is. But I do have some white foam as tunnel liners and various places. So it is entirely usable stuff. And Dick Elwell built the Hoosick Valley Railroad up in New Hampshire. Famously uses that white styrofoam and has a technique for scraping it and making it look like a rock cut. And it looks good. I mean, it's not the carving styrofoam technique. It's something else. And it looks pretty good, and I'm picky, so.
Something with a little rasp like this, Andy, made by Stanley.
Man, Sureform. Yeah, Sureform is a must-have tool for styrofoam, guys.
Oh, yes.
yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah, smooth it out, man. It'll smooth it out nice and fine.
Well, real quick, when John was talking about that being so hard after you cut it, I got one section. I bought one of those hot knives for cutting foam with.
Yep.
And I did slice one edge along my layout, and it was slow, and I mean slow, but it was going through 2-inch thick. And
Well, that's what I got too.
It put a pretty hard surface on there, so I had muted my mic here just a few minutes ago and took that Surefoam rasp, and I had to scrape across it a few times hard to start to break through the part that had been melted.
It'll come off more trouble to get that hard edge off than it is to just cut it with a utility knife,
Right.
which is what I found. Now, I bought a hot wire cutter from Lowe's, the same hot wire cutter that insulation installers use for cutting entire 4x8 sheets on the outside of a house, and I can cut 8-foot, 2-inch thick styrofoam. I can cut across 8 foot in 30 seconds, something like that. It's pretty fast.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? For those in the Q&A, if you got any questions or comments, post them up.
Yeah. Tip for getting free foam. You find in the building sites where they put that extruded foam as insulation, they always have rubbish bins or skip bins outside, and they throw the excess off pieces in that. Raid them. If you want heaps and heaps of that expanded white foam to work with, any white goods store that actually goes and installs things like fridges and washing machines and that into houses, and they take the rubbish away with them, they always have a skip bin at their warehouse or something like that. Go raid those. Plenty of, heaps of it.
Late at night.
Yeah, wear a hood with a baseball cap so you can't see on security camera, huh?
That's right.
Yeah.
White foam's pretty readily available, though.
I gotta go ask.
Yeah, one of our local companies, Harvey Norman's, they've got a major warehouse just near me. And all I do is walk up to the guys at the roll door and say, mind if I raid the skip bin? Yeah, no worries. You get heaps of cardboard, styrofoam. As long as you don't throw it on the ground and leave it there, they're happy. They're glad to get rid of it.
Well, that's easy for you. You have skip bins. We don't have those.
Yeah, you can't help with your backward. Like those sheets of styrene that they put the big billboards on. The company I used to work for, they used to have hundreds of them for sporting events with different sponsors' logos on them. And at the end of an event, they just throw them away and get new ones. So I used to get, and they're 8x4. So I used to go and get a half dozen of those.
Yes, Curtis, working on embankments. It's not for tunnels. This is These are a culvert. It's not tunnel. That's not a tunnel pour. They're real small. It's culverts. I'm just taking my razor knife. You can see those. Well, maybe you can't.
Or a
There you
Z-scale tunnel portal.
Yeah, you can see that there's flashing. Oops. Yeah, like right there. So I'm just taking my time to clean it up a little bit before I'm going to make a mold of this one too. So yeah, I was just cleaning these up.
That was the other thing I'm going to talk about. Jim, you make those out of plaster, don't you? You make a master mold out of plaster, but you also make the item itself out of plaster. Does anyone use casting resin to make them?
No.
Well, I haven't, because I can buy a 20-pound bag of plaster Paris for $12, $13.
Miles does, and he even did a series of videos on using the casted resins for doing it. For what Jimmy's doing, the plaster is perfect. Now, the barrels that he's experimenting with, sure, by all means experiment with them, Jimmy, but probably the casted resin would be a better solution for them. I guess. I haven't done it enough to know.
Well, yeah, the barrels that I'm going to do, which I'll show you guys a little bit here, I wanted to get these in there so I didn't waste another paintbrush with that latex rubber. But the barrels are a cast white metal, so I thought I'd give it a try and mold them out of plaster.
The one thing that bugs me, one of the guys in our club has his own engineering company where they make molds for extruded plastic and things like that, and for casting white metal. He makes all his own extrusion molds.
Well, Miles turned me into a plaster mold making fiend. He gave me the tips on how to do those mother molds and all that, and I've been going crazy. Luckily, I found a bottle of that Woodland Scenics latex rubber. I love it. It's one part, brush it on like you're brushing paint on. Few coats, done. There's no mixing. I mean, it's a lot of the other stuff I looked at, you had to mix. It was a two-part, and you had to mix it, and which I'm sure that's fine, but I really appreciate it. Just unscrew the lid off the jar, get my paintbrush in there, and go to work. You know, I didn't have to mix nothing up. I didn't have to worry about leftovers. You know.
Well, the set time is really easy on plaster too. It's really predictable. The molding resins, the two-part molding resins, one, they're nasty and they stink. Most of them do. I've heard the newer ones are better, but the older ones used to stink something awful. And they set up so doggone quick.
Yeah, I've seen one guy, he gets his plant again, or his mask like Jim's doing there with his retaining walls. They lay them flat down, and they build a retaining wall around it, and they pour that rubber latex in it, the two-foot one, right up, so they've actually got their master mold and the mold all in one.
Yeah,
Well,
cool. I've seen that done with silicone gels.
Good thing I looked. I grabbed two rights instead of a left and a right. Huh. I'd have been a little upset. Realized I made master mold of two lefts or two rights.
Are each wig wall at each side of the rocks and all that stuff identical?
Well, on this is a cement ones.
Oh, okay. Then they would be acidic. They would be identical.
Well, but the thing of it is, you've got a right and a left.
Yeah.
Well, I had two rights. If I had molded two rights, then two rights don't make them. Yeah, you know.
No, two rights don't make it wrong. My curiosity was, so that Woodland Scenic kit comes with culverts and 4 wig walls.
Yeah.
Are the 2 left wig walls, the 2 right wig walls, the 2 culverts, are they identical castings, or do they give you 2 that have some difference in variety in them?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I'm assuming they're identical.
I know. I kind of am too.
Because this is a concrete. I mean,
that makes sense with concrete. With the stone, you would hope that they would use different ones, add some variety.
I'm pretty sure they're identical. I built one years ago. They look the same to me.
Well, good enough for me. I didn't really expect Wooden Scenics to put that extra effort in, but it would be cool if you bought two stone viaducts and they were, a pack of two and they were slightly unique.
Yeah.
In the real world, when you lay stone, they're not the same. So.
Well, and they're plasters, so you could make them unique.
I know.
I mean, they're
Do a
soft
little
enough.
damage. Yeah, do a little damage to them and make a couple different molds. Yeah. I'm not trying to put you up to that, by the way, but just.
Well, you don't have to make different molds. You can make all one same, but just take the finished product.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I could scribe some cracks in one or something like that.
Oh, I expect that I will do that. Sure.
So yeah, there's no use in. I'll just make the ones of these, and then I can, make them however I want to make them once they're molded. I mean, you see me, I'm cutting the slag or whatever you want to call this.
Flash.
Easy enough.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I like. Plaster castings I like. Plaster scenery I do not. But I say that, but I keep having to defend my position on the plaster scenery business because most of my layouts have been plaster. I've done a lot more plaster than anything else. But once I found this scenery goof, I am never looking back from it.
Which hot wire did you have? Do you have the Woodland Scenics?
No, mine come from Lowe's, and it's a commercial one for cutting, for building contractors to cut insulation they're putting on walls. So I can cut a straight cut through I can cut 8 foot through, a 4x8 sheet I can cut right down the middle, cut 8 foot through in 30 seconds.
And it's a wire?
Yeah. It's a knife, hot knife.
Well, yeah, I got that. I got one of those, but it sure didn't cut that fast for me.
Well, the contractor's one is a higher wattage too.
Oh, it is hot, and it's real hot, and it's fast as grease lightning, but it just puts that edge on them everywhere. It's God, it's not DeWalt, but it's yellow and orange wood. I don't know where it is right now. I go find it. I quit using it like a year and a half ago. I bought it when I first started this project 2 years ago, and I used it for a few cuts, maybe used it playing around for the first month. My first modules were built with it, and I just didn't like the results. It's too hard for me to work with as a finished product.
Well, I'm trying to make up my mind what I want to do. You're making me want to lean towards plaster.
For what?
For my mountains.
Well, I've always done it with plaster, but I really like the scenery goop myself. The scenery goop is very forgiving. It stays flexible as long as you don't put the white glue in it. It stays somewhat flexible. It's very easy to punch trees into if you have foam underneath. But it is more expensive for big mountains, and that's why when I do my peninsula, where it has 2.5, 3 foot tall mountains, I'm going to use foam core, the way the Australians quite commonly do, and Professor Kleisler is infamous for building layouts with foam core, build the entire benchwork with foam core. I'm going to build the substructure of the mountains with foam core to where I...
Sorry.
Cut a piece of foam core and cut the mountain arc out in it, and then space them every few inches, and then lay vinyl screen over top of it, and then coat that in scenery goop. But I haven't done that yet, so that's purely a theory in my mind. But over the styrofoam, scenery goop is incredibly forgiving, easy to work with, and I could go back with a utility knife and carve it out. Like I've already made wood chains, and I'm getting ready to carve into it later so I can put a spot for a barn. I found a picture of this area that shows a barn up on the mountain that I didn't include. So I just take a utility knife and carve a spot out of it. Ain't hard.
Yeah. the technique I'm going to use for my layout when I get around to it, and I'm starting collecting all material for it. I'll build a framework out of lightweight pine, put a sheet of 3mm plywood over the top of that, then put 2 inches of extruded blue foam over that. Then for my mountains, I'll use cardboard boxes to bulk the mountain, then the break up bits of foam I'll just sprinkle over it and put plastic cloth over it. So I've got a lightweight module, but it's strong because of the plaster reinforcing it.
It's hollow, and most people know how to work with plaster. Plaster's really predictable. There's nothing wrong with plaster. If you want to change something, it's a mess to cut into. And man, you've seen how many trees I have planted. Imagine poking that many holes in plaster and finding them again in your finished scenery to stick the tree down into. And that's hard enough. So,
all I did was I just stick it with an awl, leave the awl there till I had the tree right there.
yeah, that's not too bad. It's hard to plant trees back in a forestation when you're trying to. And I don't always stick them in it. Some of my smaller brushes put on with Fabri-Tac, which has a lot of the properties of hot glue. It's semi-flexible cold form glue, and I just surface tack them on. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with plaster. I love the scenery, dude.
Mr. Hawks.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you've ever seen this or not, but there's been a few videos out. I don't know who started it, but I do it myself. I'm doing parts like what you're doing. I take a bamboo skewer stick, and I get those small alligator clips and put on the end of it, crimp them where it stays. Makes great holders.
That makes a lot of sense.
I have some.
Now that you're almost finished with the ladder.
Now you tell me.
Yes.
Yeah, Dwight says Ron colored his plastic while mixing, and I might do that also. And Dwight also says Ron also used cheesecloth like Jim for reinforcing his molds. If any cracks, it's easy to repair.
Yeah. It is a great idea to color the plaster. No doubt about that, color the plaster.
I have some sticks as well that I made with alligator clips, but instead of using sticks, I used wire. And the reason why I did that is if I had a part that I needed to hold on two ends, I would be able to take two of these, stick them down in the styrofoam, and then be able to hold that part from two ends if needed.
Yeah, that's
so. I just went with 18 gauge solid core wire to make instead of sticks.
Yeah.
But and I went with these ones with the cover to help keep the paint. You can see that there's no paint on that tip. On the tip it is, but not down in here. So I use these so the paint wouldn't get into the spring action part there, the hinge. Got these off of eBay pretty cheap for like 10 or 12 of them. 20 of them. I forget how many I got in a package.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So was that double-sided tape you used?
Yeah, just now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I just broke that son of a bitch. Oops. What? Oops. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't mean to curse. Yeah.
What, Jim is rich?
I pushed it a little too hard, but good thing I'm making a mold of it anyway, so it shouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah, one little tool I use, buy them in a dollar shop. You get a pack of about 10 or 12 of them for $2. I normally just peel the rubber off the end and solder a bit of coat hanger or something on it and use them. They're handy.
Yeah.
And then I also get these little suckers, little miniature coat bags. They're disposable. If you wreck them, just throw them away. You buy a pack of 100 for about $2.
Now, I've never seen G-scale clothes hangers before till now. That's what that looks like, G-scale clothes hangers. I ain't never seen clothes hangers that small before, ever. Or not clothes hangers, but I mean clothespins. Um,
I always
Think
go
like
to the
Humble.
place like the dollar shop, or I don't know what you call them there. We call them Dollar Tree, Dollar Shop, reject shops, whatever, and see what craft stuff they got. Because sometimes you come across some really good, handy stuff, dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Here's another project I'm working on. I got some microengineering bridge tracks, and they come with 2 little barrels. Now, I don't remember the story of why they have 55-gallon drum barrels to go with bridge track. I guess to salt the track or something. I'm not sure.
Fire barrels.
Fire
Yeah,
barrels.
if even on steel trestles they have them. If cinders get dropped on the ties and set the ties on fire, they would have water there to fight that fire.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, I bought 3 tracks, so I ended up with 6 little white metal barrels. So I thought I would try using this latex rubber to make a mold where I could mold some plaster barrels, because I want a lot of barrels in one of the seams of my railroad. So I'm going to give that a try. I'm not going to resin cast them. I'm just going to try the plaster, and then I can just, barrels could be black or rust brown or whatever, you know. So I thought I'd give that a try. Of course, I never thought I could probably take some wooden dowels, whatever that diameter is, and I could have just cut me a bunch of wooden dowels in length, painted them up, and then maybe put a little rim on them. I don't know how well these will cast out with those little, what do you call them? They're stiffener ridges or something.
Yeah,
A lot of guys.
it's okay for that. Years ago, you used to buy a lot of detail parts that were in cast plaster. That's mostly went by the wayside. You don't see that much anymore. You see white metal or plastic, but or resin. It used to be that you bought 25 years ago. You used to buy some plaster detail parts.
Jim,
Yeah,
what I've seen a lot of guys do, they get the dowel, cut it to length and to size, and then they get a copper wire, fine copper wire, and bend it around it.
There you go. That might have been way easier than try to do this, but I've gotten this far. I'll keep trying it. Dwight says that they sell those clothespins at Michael's, which I didn't know that. But
That's how I'm doing my water tower. Is using I'm replacing the bands that came with the water tower kit that were paper. I'm replacing them with wire.
this is the stuff I'm using at Woodland Scenics latex rubber. Again, like I say, you just open up the jar. There it is. You don't have to mix, pre-measure. Just take and dip your brush in there and start brushing it on. Pretty simple to use. I've gone through a lot of brushes though, doing this, because I'm working with bigger projects. I guess I can't clean the brushes fast enough, quick enough, soon enough. So I ended up with rubber bristles by the time I got done.
Yeah, once again, I get my brush from the local dollar shop,
Yeah, well,
craft shop, cheap.
I haven't seen any around here like that. Not the little bit bigger heads on them. I've seen they like the real small, thin bristled ones that they use for painting by numbers or whatever. But I haven't seen any of them with the like number 4 size like this is.
Yeah, Curtis also said you can buy those at Hobby Lobby. Pretty much any craft store is going to have those small clothespins. Walmart, I've seen them there before.
Those little itty miniature jobs?
Yeah.
What are they using for? Women's hosiery or something?
No, they're in the
No.
craft section.
Oh,
In the craft section, you use them for, when you have a fancy dinner party and you have people over and you have specific seating, you can make the little clip holds onto the card with the person's name on it. You can make different bases that they go into.
Yeah, see, the kind of parties I have, we don't put plaque cards down.
Well, I guess we need to have a party and enlighten you to the pinky out crowd, Jim.
Jeez.
Jim, the
Yes,
first row, the one in the middle on the outside, you might want to put a little more. Looks like you got a bare spot there. There you go.
So how many coats of that do you have to put on that?
This is my 4th coat, I think. I've actually on this I've forgotten how many I've done because it's just been a side thought. Every time I'd think about it, I'd grab it and put a coat on. I think it's the 4th. On my regular molds, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 with that gauze in between the 3rd and 4th.
Okay.
And that come out pretty good. I did one without gauze, and I'm going to show you that in a minute here.
Right there, that row you're working on, one on the end by your thumb, on the inside, looks like you got a little spot there.
There we go.
You just wiped some away from it, too. All right, I'll leave you alone now.
No, that's good. You're catching what I'm trying to see. Looks like I got them pretty covered.
First 2 coatings you put on there, Dave, they recommend putting them on kind of light so that way it picks up the details.
Yeah. I was going to mention that, and I'm going to do that right here. This has ridges along in here, and I want to make sure it gets in them ridges good. So you just tap it right in there. This is kind of an off-white color.
Okay, so basically you don't want to make a small box, put like 4 barrels in a small box and just pour it in and let it sit and harden.
It'll take about 2 weeks for it to cure out. Dave, a hay host, did that one time. He was making a mold, and he thought he made the box and just poured it in there. It took, even out there where he was at, where it's very low humidity and all, it took it about 2 weeks, he said, for that stuff to actually cure.
Wow.
There is a brand of latex stuff you get. It's a 2-pack one you mix together. You can use that method where you make your wall dam around the whole lot and just fill it up. And that only takes about 12 hours to cure. But you don't have a great deal of working time.
Yeah. Good evening, Professor. Disposable brush or keeping clean of latex and reused.
Yeah, I have cleaned this, Professor. Soap and water, if you get it right away. But for some reason, it dries inside those bristles there. So you end up with a little rubber ball inside the bristles. Now this one's going to have that problem because I'm taking way too long to do all this, of course. And this is only supposed to take 30 minutes to dry between coats, but I must put it on too thick because it doesn't quite dry that fast enough for me.
Also, Professor says, are you there, Andy? He must have stepped out.
I am.
Professor's got a link for you.
Oh yeah, that would do it. Silicone. That's nice. I've seen people use that to make the single set master mold and mold in one process. Works like a champ. It's really fast too. And the guys at the hobby shop I used to work at when I was a kid, they used to mold for airplane modelers, military modelers. Military wasn't as big a thing back then or in that area, but a lot of plastics modelers, and they were using the silicone to mold.
Yeah, that's the stuff I was talking about.
Yep.
While the professor's there, is the professor interested in doing a live hangout one Friday night for Australian and that?
Well, good. Now over the weekend, I know what I can have the wife help me with, since she can't go anywhere.
What's
Uh-oh.
that?
Help me make molds.
Yeah.
She don't have to get off the couch.
Well, this Woodland Scenic stuff is $16 to $18 for a jar.
Yeah, I almost bought a bottle of it today. I was looking at it, real heavy.
But I tell you, it goes a long ways. I'm down about a little under half a jar. I've done 5 or 6 molds. So it goes a long way. A 1 pint jar, 1 16-ounce jar of it goes further than I would have thought it would have. Anybody doing this, make sure you get your edges right along here. Put it on kind of thick.
Yeah, because they flex and take a lot of the damage. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You think wood jar of it? I need to cast a rock cliff, and I'm going to go find me a block of coal that's about 4 foot. Okay, this would be a boulder of coal, but Eastern Kentucky, and I still got a bunch of buddies in the coal industry. I won't have any problem finding that. I need a cliff line that's about 4 foot long by about a foot, maybe 14, 16 inches tall. So I figured I'd go find me a pretty big old coal and paint a 4 foot by 1.5 foot latex mold on it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So buy 2 of them.
Yeah, because I mean, I've done some molds, but no way 4 foot long by 1.5 foot, 2 foot tall. That I don't know if 2 jars would cover that in 4 or 5 coats.
Well, and I got to go to Virginia, or at least East Kentucky, and I won't be able to buy the latex there. I'm just going to go buy it, and then go out over a few days while I'm home, and cast it in place. You know, I can't carry a boulder of coal home.
And since I've destroyed all these painter brushes, I'm saving them to make pine trees. Because they're already round. They slope from thick down to thin. So
There you are.
That's not a bad idea.
I just break it off all the brush tips on them. Professor says yes, Pinky still has gotten a lot of traction with the NSW, and the NMRA, and the Viking VICNG modelers in recent years casting scene details. Big molds end up being problematic to get a constant pour, let alone set of the casting material. Which yeah, that would be true.
You think I can pour plaster into a 4 foot by foot mold?
You're gonna have a fun time trying to mix that plaster up and get it poured before, because I mean, you've seen me when I do it. Heck, I can pour that stuff, and 10 minutes later I can touch it, and it's hard. So you don't have, I mean, you'd have to be able to mix up a 5-gallon tub of it, it would seem like.
God, it's going to be so heavy.
Yes, it's going to be very heavy.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need to do some foam carving.
I ain't going to do that. No offense to anybody, I don't like the results. If it works for you, great. I don't like the results.
Professor says, prefer foam rubber with a granite, smooth, soft rock effect. And then he says you can pour it, but moving, handing, and applying it to a layout is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to apply that part to styrofoam. I'm not going to try to lay a structure under it. I'm going to actually fill it up with a piece of 2-inch styrofoam, or with layers of 2-inch styrofoam behind it, and adhere it.
And the professor says, and a man's got to know his limitations.
I'm not great at that.
I know mine all too well.
Yeah, I'm not particularly great at that. I'm really bad at biting off more than I can chew. Or I say that I just ain't afraid to try things, but I agree that's probably a pretty rough task.
And he says the man's got to know the limits of the thermodynamic physics or plaster.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Limits of thermodynamics, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. That's a solid argument.
And if anybody's wondering, I earned a gold star this week, so Johnny's letting me read the Q&As tonight.
You were a good boy.
In class you used to get, be able to go take the erasers out in the hall and to the eraser cleaner and stuff like that. When he was a good boy, well, I get to read the Q&A tonight.
Either that or John needs new glasses.
I've been needing new glasses for about 10 years.
The professor says, oops, go ahead, Andy.
I said I was never a good boy. I always had a permanent seat outside the headmaster's office.
The professor says, why not Bragdon geodesic foam expanded into the oversized coal mold?
Yeah, you actually probably came in too late for that. I actually was mentioning how I don't like plaster or anything, but I use plaster rock molds right now. It's the only thing I use in a plaster is plaster rock molds. And I really want to try that Bragdon geodesic foam. I've heard both good and bad things about it. Admittedly, mostly bad. But I like Bragdon molds, and I like other Bragdon products really well. So I really want to try the geodesic foam.
Yeah, when I was building boats, we used to have to, especially when we were building for the Navy, all the compartments of the boat that were underwater had to be filled with that foam, mixing up exactly the right volume.
Yep.
Not too much, it overflowed. You spent hours cleaning the bloody crap off it.
My dad's first job, he always told me about that. And I used some spray foam years and years ago, and he would every time I'd mess with that stuff, he'd tell me about his first job. I heard that story 1,000 times, but his first job was filling up barges with that. They were building barges and filling up with that foam, and him talking about what a mess it was. And my first layout was I tried using that spray foam and carving it and smoothing it out with latex gloves and all that other stuff, but that's pretty hard crap to work with.
He finished off, Professor finished off with lighter, stiffer, and more handleable over that size of a rock. He also says Fantasonic has used geodesic rocks with exciters mounted on MDF plate, thus forming rock speakers for layout sound.
Oh, rock musician.
I like everything Fantasonic does. That's a pretty interesting concept. Damn it.
Here's one thing I did want to show. We talked about not placing gauze in with your molds when you're molding. Here's one with gauze in it. Here's one without. This is a lot stiffer than, this is just like a wet lasagna noodle. I didn't put the gauze in this one. And this is, it's not too stiff, it's not over stiff. it's still easy to bend your corners out or whatever to get a good, so you don't break your plaster corners or whatever, but still plenty flexible. But it does have a little more rigidity. I mean, this here just folds right over on itself, and this will hold its shape. Well, that looks like it's wet. It's not, but it looks like it's wet. Unless my wife come in here and applied some when I wasn't looking. I noticed this side. And now I'm wondering if that isn't totally cured right there. Now that I looked at it. Unless the water from the plaster did that. It feels a little damp. Not real sure. I'll leave them out to make sure they dry good. I don't have no problems with that one. That one's looking nice and dry. I've been a mold making fool, people, let me tell you.
And a great series on it, too.
If anybody hasn't watched the video, and I've mentioned it before about making the mother mold, I'm doing that with everything.
It's a good idea.
I have got some Woodland Scenics rocks. I got frustrated because Woodland Scenics uses such a thick rubber that they're hard. These smaller ones are hard to peel back to get the rock out without them snapping. So someone told me to cut them apart. So I cut them apart. Well, now they don't want to sit right, of course. You got to use a box of kitty litter or sand or something and nestle these in that box. And that's too much of a pain in the rear for me because if I want to make a couple of the rocks, maybe I just want to do this one and this one all of a sudden. I'm pulling it out and getting the box out and putting sand in it and nestling them in there. And so now I'm going to make a mother master mold for these as well. So if I just want to do a couple of rocks, I can pull the mold out and do them and be done with it. They sure seem to be forming a lot of rocks lately. Here is a wing wall that I need to, it's in my little form box. Doing it just like I did this. I did the latex rubber right on top of this piece of styrene, which is a old for sale sign. And then once I got all the layers on there that I want with the gauze, then I just took me some sides and taped them all up on there. And the tape holds the plaster just fine. Doesn't leak. It sets so darn quick, I imagine. But there's when I got ready to pour plaster, and I was going to do that tonight, but got to do other things.
Well, you get those others done, you can just pour that plaster all at one time.
Yeah, well, I've got two small boxes, one large box. It's going to take a lot of plaster, and then this one here. But yeah, I figured I'd get this one done. I might pour the other ones tonight just to give me something to do.
Professor's also got up there any tips on care and feeding molds while in storage long term.
Well, Miles Hale told me to just, because I thought maybe I'd wrap them in saran wrap or something, and he told me no, leave them out so they're in the air. Just stack them up someplace and they'll be fine.
Yeah, I know those at the store that we've used have been around for who knows how long, and they're just fine. They've just been thrown in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had said, i.e., avoiding the latex from degradation, breakup, disintegration.
Well, Biles talked about he's had molds for 20-some years, and Lex Parker talks about having molds for 20-some years that he still uses. And probably, one here and there score, but if you have quite a few molds, I'd imagine you wouldn't lose many.
Well, the thing about it is I've had one of Woodland Scenics molds tear on me. That black rubber had a real thin spot, and Kathy at the store was doing some molding, so she took it home with her, and she just put some latex over it, let that cure out, and then put some more latex and put some gauze on top of that and the latex, and it's getting strong now.
So the latex was holding to that black material?
Yeah, I think she also kind of scuffed it up a little bit too.
Yeah,
Cool. Good to know.
that might be good to know, because I'd ask Miles because Miles worked for Woodland Scenics, and Miles, if anybody didn't know, Miles Hale was the one who designed all but one of their black rock molds.
Yeah.
And I had asked him if because I have one I need to repair, if he thought I could use this, and he didn't think so, but he wasn't sure, I think is what he said.
Take a piece of coarse sandpaper, scrub over it.
Right, so it's got something to adhere to.
If you're going to
Yeah.
make mother bolts for it, that'd make it easier to patch. Make it less tolerant of breaking, I guess, at least.
Well, I'm not worried too much about these Woodland Scenic molds. I don't. I mean, they look nice, but they're just a pain. They're a pain in the butt to turn inside out when you're trying to get every little detail.
Yeah,
You
man.
can work them and be careful with them, and for the most part, they work good. But I have a couple that almost always breaks on me. Now, maybe I'm getting too much in a hurry. Maybe I should let them sit for a few days in the mold and harden up better. That might help. But I'm always in a hurry to get something done, I guess.
Well, I can tell you those new molds they came out with for the creek rock. Man, those things, the creek rock is so thin. I poured some, and that plaster just busting all over the place, and they cured out. It's just that they're so thin. Trying to take them out, it just broke every one of them.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll buy that mold here soon. I was getting ready to buy that mold, but I guess I won't.
Well, what's his name? Yeah, Phil sent me one to use, and I think that was a creek rock. Oh, surface rocks. This one is.
Yeah, they got surface and creek, and I think.
But there's some real thin ones. I've been pretty lucky with them.
Ones I got's got some small. Look, this a bunch of little bitty ones.
So these bigger ones out of the way. Let's see here. There's some pretty delicate ones in there. Thought there was a real small one. I guess this is the real small one that I look at it. Yep. Yep, this is the smallest one here. Got a pretty thin edge on it.
One I had, Jim's got even thinner rocks,
Well, I believe you. I was just looking at them.
and that thing was a pain.
My little pebbles turned out pretty decent. I like the little pebbles that I did on that.
Wax paper.
Yeah, it was it was on a garbage bag.
Yeah.
Doing it for laying inside rivers or whatever, where it would get real rounded and smooth on top. I did a bunch of different ones. Just kind of all I did was just drop the plaster on the sheet in different spots and got some uneven shapes.
Yeah, that was just a good experiment. That was curious.
Yeah. But this is the mold that breaks on me all the time. Is this one here? Which corner is it? Right there. The way that mold is, this should come out more right in here, but it's such a thick, hard material you can't get it to push up and out well enough, and I snap this corner off a lot. In fact, this is the rock that it got broke off right here. You can see the difference in them there. But because it's got a real deep cut around this edge here,
Yeah, it's real thin.
yeah, you try pushing that out because that material is so thick rubber.
Yeah.
I snap these off quite often, which is a little frustrating. But I love the detail on it, though. I mean, it's got a nice detail.
Yeah.
That's for a rock wall.
That's Woodland Scenics mold.
Yeah.
Never
that
seen
one I was-
that one.
Yeah, that's the one I was working with when I did that styrofoam mountain, and I was taking these while they were wet and slapping them on that curve area.
Oh yeah.
So that this would form around that curve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the one I was using. But yeah, I love the rock work on it. That's nicely detailed. I'm starting to feel like Andy pie tins with crap all over the place. Not saying your stuff's crap, Andy. I'm just saying.
No, I got stacks of pie tins: gravel, ballast, rock, talus, dirt. Man, I got so many different containers. I've bought Rubbermaid and Tupperware and little Tupperwares for chalk and big Tupperware. I've got so many different kinds of containers. I use anything I can.
Yeah, Professor, also put up here. Yeah, I've heard sprinkling talc powder over the surface before storing the molds.
Well, that might be a good idea.
I've heard of that.
Shoot.
That's
Hey.
necessary.
I caught my cussing there, John.
Huh?
I said I caught myself, didn't cuss.
Good job.
I just knocked it over and almost had a tirade of vulgar information coming out.
Good job. I didn't police myself very good a couple minutes ago. I let something bother me. So,
John, I'm on the other side of the room now, so if you want to watch those Q&As,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and mold some more mother molds.
In the meantime, Andy, I got a question for you.
sure.
Andy, you there?
Yes, sir.
NCE.
All right.
On the like, I just have a Pro 5, so just with one
Booster.
control. So I was wondering, this with the size of my layout, should I be better to switch to Wi-Fi?
You mean for throttles? It's going to come down to preference. So you could absolutely use NCE's wireless throttle system. Mike Confalone, for example, had to have 2 of the wireless transceivers. His layout room is about 50 feet long with 1 or 2 walls in it. And he had to have 1 repeater for his wireless. It's a 54-foot basement full of trays. I like Wi-Fi just as a personal preference. I prefer to use an iPod or an iPhone or an Android phone as a throttle better than using an actual throttle. But that's just, I use my phone all the time. I have a higher comfort level with my phone than I do with a throttle with buttons on it. So it's a matter of personal preference.
Yeah, but let's say, okay, for now I'm more by myself, so I mean that's no problem. But if once I want to get 5 operators in, let's say every month or every 2 weeks,
Sure.
what should I be getting?
Again, I still think it comes down to personal preference. What are the operators going to like using? Are they already really comfortable with Digitrax or with NCE wireless throttles, rather? Or are they people you can train to use an iPhone comfortably? Or an iPod? Or an Android phone? Or something? Because if they are... No matter what, no matter how nice my dad had a music studio, and he bought the nicest set of digital drums money could reasonably buy, and nobody would ever play them because they just liked regular drums, and he just could not retrain people into using digital drums. And I feel that's kind of the same way. You can't, it's hard to beat human nature and human comfort levels, human tendencies. If you can talk them into using iPhones, personally, I prefer it. But not everybody.
Yeah, if you're, I mean, if there's going to be 4 or 5 people coming over, not necessarily everybody's got an iPhone, so I have no idea how operations work. But like when people come over to do some operation sessions, do they all bring their throttle? Do they bring their iPhone?
Not
what
normally.
happens?
Not normally. It's kind of expected that you would have the throttles. So.
Okay.
And now, if you're going to do it with NCE, you'll have to have that many NCE throttles. If you're going to do it with Wi-Fi, then maybe they have an iPhone or an Android phone that works and they're willing to install the app and join your Wi-Fi, do all that jazz. But odds are what you could do is you could either buy $30 Android phones, prepaid Android phones from Walmart. A lot of people are doing that and using those as throttles. They are the cheapest way to get wireless throttles out there, period. And again, I prefer it. Now, I'm an Apple guy, so I bought iPods. So I have 5 or 6 iPods, enough for everybody. But that's more expensive than the Android phones by a long shot. So you can buy Android phones cheap. And the engine driver software for Y-Throttle that runs on Android is actually really good and in some ways better than the one that runs on iPhone.
All right, Professor has asked. Yeah, I'll get my microphone right in a minute. Professor has asked, were you switch to Wi-Fi from what?
From analog wireless throttles from like NCE.
Like right now, I have an NCE Pro 5, which is a plug-in throttle. But I would need, somebody was telling me I'd need about 16, what do you call those connectors there on my fascia? So I can go all around.
Oh, universal panels.
You don't need that for wireless, though.
No, that's it. If I have a wireless, then I don't need any of those, except maybe in the yard.
Yeah.
So I was just asking, what's best?
All right, Professor's got a comment up here. It says, as significant additional numbers of extra devices, are you comfortable plugging or administrating a Wi-Fi network in a domestic space?
True. However, that's got pretty easy to do with, you can put decent wireless networking in your home pretty easy without a lot of technical skill and stuff these days. That used to be hard to do well. It didn't used to be hard to do okay, but it used to be hard to do well. But you could buy, Ubiquiti brand wireless for dirt cheap these days, and they're very easy to deal with. Or Apple Airport's not bad, and it works pretty good. And you're not talking about having 50 throttles. You're talking about having 6 or 10. So, 6 or 10 wireless devices is not too hard to support on a wireless network. You're not talking about anything too enterprise ready.
Okay, I have a wireless system here at home where I've got 4 computers or laptop. I get my iPhone, my iPad. Everything's on wireless.
Oh yeah.
But does the NCE wireless have anything to do with that system, or that's completely apart?
Yeah, completely apart. They have their own proprietary wireless solution, which works well. I don't have no argument there. It's a good working wireless system. I just personally don't prefer those throttles, number one, and it's a lot more expensive too.
Yeah.
Now, if I thought it was that much better, I'd spend the money. I'm not object to spending the money.
Yeah, I was going to say, the cost of having the Wi-Fi throttles, that's going to be pretty high versus just having work throttles. Those are pretty cheap, and just put the universal panels around the layout.
Well, he wants wireless though, and a wireless universal throttle is $160.
Yeah.
Plus the wireless hardware. Whereas the Wi-Fi throttles, you could buy an Android phone for $30. So it's really hard to argue with how cheap you can do Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that too, Andy, we've discussed this before in the past. He could actually, because you're talking about, you set up a router right there in the room, and that's what you're running your throttles off of, not the home system, right?
I prefer a dedicated wireless railroad. I do.
So that way you won't be having interference. That's another thing the professor posted a comment up here about was, do you have a significant number of Wi-Fi devices active in the same building, possible RF swapping issues? So, you might want to just set up a Wi-Fi system there in the layout room that's dedicated for that. And that'll keep you isolated from your home system.
Yeah, with wireless equipment being so cheap, that's kind of a no-brainer to do because you can buy a wireless hotspot or a wireless access point for so little money these days that
Hmm.
I still think it comes back to preference. I mean, yes, it comes back to money too. There's cheaper, wide throttle is cheaper, but if you put money aside, preference still matters. Do you prefer the NCE throttles, or can you be comfortable using an Android phone or an iPhone?
Yeah, and what do the operators going to feel about it too?
That's a big, big, big part of it. They have to buy into what you're doing.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I always have my iPhone, probably a plug-in throttle and a Wi-Fi. So right there, I have 3.
Yeah, but if you're going to do wireless NCE, you got to have the wireless NCE equipment, and then you've got to have wireless NCE throttle. And even just the utility throttles are running about $160. So they're good.
Really?
Though.
For a utility throttle?
Wireless one, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wants to go wireless. That's where you start getting the money.
Yeah, because John's layout, new one that we're building, I'm going to put him, he's going to DCC now because he wants his sound. He's got that sound diesel and a sound steam engine now, so
Good.
I'm going to sell him my Zephyr and just put some, UP5, universal panels around because he's got a peninsula and he can't see the whole layout now from one position. So,
yep.
And I told him what we'll do is just get him a work throttle because that way it'll be about $50 or a little less for that, and he can just walk around and plug in as he goes.
Wired just does it for me. For some people it does. For my layout, wired just would be, I would spend all my time unplugging and plugging and unplugging and plugging.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is John's special needs, so you got to keep it simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the thing is, there's options in the DCC space, and they're not there just because of money. There are good, legitimate reasons to choose one option over a different option, money being aside, just out of preference.
Yeah. All right, you feel like talking, Andy?
Sure. No, I did have surgery today, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, you did have surgery today?
I did, but
that was today, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not having amnesia this time, so eBay's not going to be as much fun. But
all right, well, I know you got an answer for this, and I will let other people answer it too. But Professor asks, so how does one merge the seams between rock molds for larger areas?
God, that's such a pain to do well. I use a Ziploc bag like I'm icing a cake, and I cut the corner out of it. Don't ask me how I know how to ice a cake. But I take a Ziploc bag, cut the corner out of it, and squeeze it in. Squeeze it in and poke it in. And then once I poke it into those areas, I take a very soft bristle brush, and get it really wet and wash all that extra plaster out of the detail and undulations in the surrounding rock molds. It is not. That's why I want to cast that big cliff in one piece, though, because it's hard to do that well and have it take color the same. It's very hard to color it correctly.
Professor goes, hey, Andy, how do you know about icing the cake so well?
Yeah, all right. I'm surprised it took that long for somebody to try. Everybody's iced a cake. That don't mean nothing. But that I'm kind of a foodie, so I've watched some Food Network stuff. And honestly, how many great ideas come from cooking that I applied them on railroading? So, really?
Okay. Now that begs a whole new discussion.
Oh, well, we weren't going to go that deep into this, but I promise you there's a lot of great ideas that come from fine cuisine that are used in model railroading.
Okay, I want an example of 6.
You had to do that.
There, cupcakes.
Well, I'll tell you,
Pie.
cooking taught me a lot about the chemical changes that happen to things like plaster and flour. Like I make paper mache and chemical processes that happen when you apply water and heat. You know, there's a process that happens. It taught me a lot about that. Cake molding and detailing. I don't do a lot of cake work or whatever. Taught me a lot of patience. That has to be good.
I know I'm never going to come over to Andy's house and eat a cake if he is intermingling flour with plaster.
Man, I'll
Sounds
tell
like
you
something
what,
straight out of the Three Stooges.
I'll give you that. I'm a pretty good chef, though, man. I can make a lobster and seafood and fish. I'm exceptional at those.
Gosh,
Professor
Aren't most
said
of the
flight
green-
time to Australia equals lag time.
Comment lag. Yeah.
13 hours.
all right, has anybody been counting how many cups of flour I've added to this mix?
Nope.
Darn it.
You're on your third one.
I was thinking 4.
Where's Philip at? He's falling down.
He's too quiet. Man.
Yeah,
He's
that's
building something. He's putting something together.
I have one comment.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All the great chefs are men.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wolfgang.
you never heard of a chef.
Professor says, I know Scenery Mahler friend who frequently uses Sara Lee layer on layer on layer food approach to his scenery applications.
All right, that works. That's another technique, and I do use a tremendous amount. I totally believe in layers when it comes to scenery.
I wonder if Martha Stewart's a model railroader.
No, but you'd be surprised the people that are model railroaders. Airline, I mean, all the people that are model railroaders, you know,
Yeah.
All the smart
Nah.
people.
They don't allow train layouts in jail. Paul, they don't allow train layouts in jail.
that would probably be one of the exclusions of people who are commonly model railroaders.
Yeah.
Professor said only one. I guess he knows it does the Sara Lee thing.
I'm a big believer in layers. My indicating, I went for lightweight as much as possible, but I've ended up building a lot of weight up by laying down dirt and then laying down leaves and laying down underbrush and growth. And there's places where things cover over each other and it's wasted effort. But there's a lot of places where the stuff shines through. Layers, I'm a big believer in layers. And in weathering, a lot of layers in weathering.
Well, I can tell you now, the earlier discussion starting on plaster or styrofoam, of mixing up this one bowl of plaster is a pain. I think I will definitely go styrofoam.
Well, and the scenery goop stuff that you've tried and that I'm so adamant about all the time, of course, I can mix that stuff up and seal the lid on a plastic bowl and leave it out at room temperature, and it will still be moist. Maybe I have to add a quarter cup of water or less than a quarter cup of water to it to moisten it up a little bit. It'll last for 6 months. I've literally kept it for 6 months and done nothing but add a touch of water to it. If that.
Mr. Hawks, Professor says the structure's looking good.
Thank you. I was just thinking about that, where this here is half a trackside structure, bits and pieces of what's it, the sand plant, and then there's the what is that called? It's a surge bin.
Yeah.
So everything put together will be my
Yeah.
cement feeder for my cement truck.
Yeah, okay. It works.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning though when you're kit bashing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess Professor meant this to be for Jim. Is that plaster or oatmeal?
Yeah.
Cream of
It's
wheat.
still pretty thin. I mean, I'm just kind of scraping off the edge on the wood stick here, so it can get mixed in good.
Johnny uses grits.
I need a what, Paul?
So Johnny uses grits.
Yeah. No
Not
wonder my
oatmeal.
morning porridge tastes funny after the night of scenery work.
Yeah, but it's next to your ribs, man.
Yeah, I think another half a cup or so.
Has anybody gone through the trouble of getting some office furniture?
For the HO layout or for your workroom?
No, no, for HO layout.
Oh,
Yeah, I have. I have. Okay, so I have an interlocking tower with the Armstrong levers inside, and they work. Now, okay, they don't turn turnouts, but they are movable. The positions are movable on the Armstrong levers. I put a potbelly stove in there with a piece of copper ground wire on a Romex for the pipe, and it was a Sullivan Details lost wax or white metal casting rather, not a lost wax brass. And I have a laser cut wood desk chair, a couple of those actually. One of those going to there, and a roll top desk that's laser etched wood as well to go in that interlocking building. So I am working on office furniture, and I'm working on some bedroom furniture too. So
What's the name of the kit, or who sells that type of furniture?
well,
Or did you make
they
it?
all come from different places. So I haven't found any single source. The chairs come from. God, I'm trying to remember. There's a laser cut place that sells just detail parts, bolts or wrenches and tools and workbenches and stuff. I bought the chairs from them. They sell, I'll tell you where you can find it, or I'll go find it here in a
I
minute.
tell you what, Andy, why don't you just make up a list because Mr. Hawks joins us in our other hangouts, and then you can pass it on to him the next day or two. That'd be okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
I
I know you're not. I know you're not in your layout room, Andy. So
No, I mean, I don't have. I'm on my laptop, not on my desktop where that stuff is. Stephen Bennett has a YouTube channel, and a couple months ago, he went through some laser etched detail parts that he was recommending that had manhole covers and stuff. The company that made those made the chairs and stuff.
Mr. Hawks, professor said the cement truck looks good. Where is that from?
The cement truck?
Yeah.
Oh, gee. eBay somewhere. I know.
Looks like a classic metalworks, but I could be wrong.
They look solid. I know they were on eBay.
Professor also put up here vector cut details.
That's the guys. That's the guys.
Say that again?
That'll be www.vectorcut.com.
Yeah, man. They've got some really cool small detail parts.
Thank you very much.
They did not have the desk. I found that from some eBay seller. But the chairs they have are awesome.
Professor also said it looks like a Boley truck from the side. Boley. Boley.
I don't see any names.
I used up that whole bowl for one mold. Holy cow.
I wasn't paying attention. I was going to present you while you poured that mold, too.
Too late.
Yeah, I'll catch you on the next one over. One in the middle because the other one's too far away.
Now, is that the same mix for casting the rocks that you're using to make the molds?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not over by my monitor, so I couldn't see what the trucks look like. But I picked up a couple of these. They're made by Boley. It's a GMC dump truck.
Hang on. All right, now I got you presented.
Yeah, I picked a couple of these up the other day at the hobby recycling store that I was at. I don't know if it looked like that or not, you know. Like I said, I'm not by my monitor, so.
Yeah. Now he's got a cement truck, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll be right back. I'll just go check on my desktop.
Hawks, before you walk
Yep.
away, looks like he's got a eBay place. Well, that's for the Boley cement truck.
That, John?
Yeah.
That mold is already set up enough to touch it without leaving fingerprints. And all I've done was go add some more water to the bowl. It's pretty fast setup, I'll tell you. Now, I watched Derek Glass's video for longer working time. He slowly added, without stirring, he would just lightly put a little on till the water absorbed it, and then a little more, and a little more, and a little more, and he was taking forever, and I just thought to myself, I can't wait that long.
Well, I recommend that you put it in there and let it sit for at least a minute before you start stirring it.
There's also two techniques for slowing down plaster setting. One is to add vinegar to it, which just most people say just smells awful and doesn't buy you that much time anyway. And another is to add a spoonful of baking soda, not much, just a touch.
I've heard of the baking soda. Several people on a forum said that baking soda didn't work for them, anyways, but the vinegar helped a little. Also, really cold ice water.
Yeah, really cold water for sure works, but it doesn't buy you much time. I've heard the vinegar just smells awful and doesn't help you that much, but you got to experiment and see. But I know some people who used to add baking soda to the mix, or the couple old timers. I don't know that it worked. I never used the difference, but they swore by it.
Well, I guess the harder you thrash around your mixing tool, the faster it starts to set up.
That's true.
And I'm sitting here beating this stuff like a redheaded stepchild.
Force of habit, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, now.
Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Professor put up their hobby recycling store. Interesting concept. Phil was, well, you tell him, Phil, what that is.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
What it was, I just posted a YouTube video on it today. If you want Professor, you can go to Philip Wyman. That's with 2 L's. WYMAN on YouTube. And what it was a store that the guy buys like estates and used train stuff from people, goes through all the engines that are used, make sure that they work. Boxcars, any kind of, rolling stock, you make sure that the brake wheels are there and the steps. If they're not there, he writes it right on the box and marks it down even more. Replaces, trucks if they need to be, your brake wheels, and everything's sold as used. But I picked up a couple items that were brand new in the box. I mean, they still had the factory packing and the factory sealed tape on them, and he was selling them as used for, probably, I'm going to say 2/3 the original, price. You could pick up an old Athearn Blue Box kit for $4. That truck I bought was like $3.95. I bought a bunch of pan pastels for like $6.50.
Yeah, that's a good, pretty good price on them.
Yeah, or $6.30 they were actually. Some pre-built structures, and it's all in scale, HO, all the scales, S, O, HO, G, throughout this whole store, and it's from the floor to the ceiling, just stacks, And I spent 4 hours there, and I didn't even look at every box. I read as many as I could, within that 4 hours. But it's a pretty interesting store. I plan on going back soon.
Professor also said, just add vinegar. Andy, this is scenery, not fried chips.
Oh, I forgot we were talking about scenery, not cooking again. Yeah, so what you want is some rice wine vinegar. It has a really nice kind of distinct flavor. Never mind, I'm talking about the wrong thing again. Balsamic vinegar, that's the ticket.
Yeah, the more I mess with this plaster, the more I'm convinced I'm not going to use it for my mountains. Johnny, I'm going to pour if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to pour in it, but I'm hoping I made enough for these 2 molds. I probably didn't. Oops, there's a clope I missed.
That's how I got to my argument against plaster. It's not. That's why I wanted to preface it and say, listen, guys, it's not through just watching YouTube videos that I don't like plaster. I use plaster most of my modeling life, and I hate it.
I'm hoping I made enough to do both these.
If not, you're going to be mixing another batch real fast.
Yeah, well,
Like you're going to have to do. No?
No, I think I might have enough, because this isn't a real thick piece that I'm trying to make a master mold of.
What you got to do is mix extra every time, and just have a few extra little molds set around it. Every time you cast something, you're casting a few rocks too.
Well, if anybody's wondering, that last bit I put in there's kind of setting up already. So I was patting it down so I could hopefully get a nice smooth. One spot right there. Thing's determined to stay there, wasn't it? I think I've worked out just right, by George.
Is that small one $29.95 plus shipping and handling? Please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.
Huh? Oh, you talking about a small master mold you just made?
Yeah.
Oh.
How long is that going to take to cure totally? I mean, a couple of days, what?
Oh, no.
No, it'll be done by tomorrow.
Really?
The big one will be done by
thick?
tomorrow. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
big one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
hydrocal doesn't take long to cure out.
that. The small one I just poured.
Yeah.
I'll have that out of the mold in 20 minutes.
Wow.
The big one I'll take out in about an hour. But then I will, once I take the sides off of it, I let it sit. That big one, I just take the sides off so I know air can get through the sides easy enough.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
The big one, listen. That's how hard the big one is already.
Jeez.
Yeah, I can take the sides off the big one right now. But I'm going to wait till these other ones. This one still just barely starts to leave a fingerprint.
I will say that's a big disadvantage to use a scenery goop in your scenery model. If you put it on very thick, it'll take a couple days to set up. If you put it on thin, it sets up pretty quick. But not that quick.
Yeah, that I'm going to come back. I'm going to take a union break, and I'll be able to pop those out of the molds when I'm done without a problem. It's pretty quick. Dries pretty quick.
Which is both awesome and the biggest detriment at the same time.
Exactly.
All right, I guess this is for you, Phil, even though he called you Jimmy. It's from Curtis. Next time you go, look for a 50s era Santa Fe rolling stock for me. That's from Curtis.
Oh,
Okay. 50s era rolling stock. Santa Fe.
Oh,
Man, I don't know. Santa Fe?
I know another Santa Fe model in here, doggone.
Yes. Oh, I don't know. I'll see what I can do. First off, Curtis, is where do you live? What's shipping going to cost?
He's in Florida, near Fort Myers, I think it was.
Fort Myers. Huh. Yeah, it'd only be about $4 to ship it down there, probably.
I've got a good modeling tip. Do not set your latex rubber jar next to your water bottle.
So how's that taste?
Well, luckily it's got a good vinegar smell to it, so I took a whiff as I was putting it up to my mouth to realize what I was doing.
Well, hey, Jim, if you had took a drink out, just don't swallow, let it dry, and if you ever need any more teeth, you just mold your own. Save yourself some money.
Now, you've got me thinking for a second, John. Let me think about
ideas. Don't give no ideas. He'll be mold his own dentures by next week. He's done replacing his he's done talking about replacing his pacemaker with a static grass applicator. So
my defibrillator. It's only needed once in a while, not the pacemaker. Pacemakers all the time.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I don't know the difference.
Yeah. Defibrillator, it always shocks you when you need it, when your heart goes into fibrillation.
Yeah, so a static grass applicator probably wouldn't work for that.
No.
It's
well,
just for a good squill out of the
as long as it's right there for defibrillation, as long as you got it right there and you can reach that button as your heart goes into fibrillation, I guess it might work. But
work for the wife.
That's scary stuff.
Curtis said, sorry about that, Phil.
Hey, that's no problem. What, the fact that he lives in Fort Myers, or he called me Jimmy?
He called you Jim.
Oh, Jim.
He has to apologize for living in Fort Myers.
You know, if I don't know if any of you have noticed, but has Jim had his smiling face on camera tonight?
Hush, Phil.
Yeah, we know. The Boxy twins.
Yeah, I will say something about Michigan weather. I think we got fooled. You know, it got warm for a couple of days. We decided to get our summer haircuts. Yeah.
Well, my excuse is I normally go to the barber and I get a flat top. But This modeling railroad hobby of mine's kept me so broke that I can't afford to go to the barber. So I just took the shears and had my wife go ahead and just give me a buzz cut and get it over with. But normally I sport the flat top.
That sounds like he's going to be asking for model railroad donations in the next day or two. Is the way that
I'm putting up one of those GoFundMe pages.
yeah.
But I'm not asking for model railroad funds. I'm going to ask for food funds because the model railroad keeps me broke all the time.
Yeah, please send me food so I can spend my money on trains instead.
Yes, exactly. Now, I mentioned this in one of Johnny's shows one time. They were talking about must-haves, and I held up my fat wallet and said, you must have a fat wallet full of credit cards and money for this hobby. And that's no lie, because you can do this on the cheap if you want a 4x8 sheet with a single donut track and a Bachmann no sound engine. You know, you can get into the hobby cheap.
And want to build it all yourself.
But if you get into the Google Hangouts and you talk to all these guys, they get you to spend your money.
Oh.
It's like it's witchcraft, let me tell you.
No.
Andy says no, but he teaches me how to do a tree with these. What is that tree armatures that we get?
Super trees.
Super trees, yeah. So I got to buy a $30 box of weeds, basically, and another $40 worth of fake leaves, and then realize that one box isn't enough, so I have to buy another $30 box of weeds. And all of a sudden, my layout's getting $150 worth of trees on it.
Worth the weeds that look like trees. I know.
Jim.
What?
Professor has food funds. Whoops. Just reach into Andy's scenery supply box.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I got plenty of stuff for the kitchen. I got all kinds of vinegars and stuff in here that I've been making stains with. It's all turned into a big joke, but I'm still backing it up as serious.
And yes, Professor, I am blaming the cost of the hobby on peer pressure. Yes, without a doubt. Well, one of my good friends, Philip Wyman. The poor guy. Everybody bugged him to get DCC. I told him to stay DC. Honest, I did. I think that's how the argument went.
You think so?
Yeah, that's it. Sure.
Poor Phil. With his half a dozen old DCCs that he's had for 15 years or longer. And here I am talking him into getting DCC. Oh man, it's so much fun, Phil. And the sound. Now he isn't convinced of the sound yet. As soon as I get him over here, so he can hear the sounds coming out of these inner mountains that I have. We'll get him hooked on those too.
Professor's got on here, or just plant a few cheap plants, and by next year you'll have an entire forest of trees for very, very little.
I use natural products too, but I still, and I make it all. I don't buy anything pre-made when it comes to trees, but I have to buy the super tree material. Now we are talking about me and Jimmy and who else we talking about that? Terry, several of us talking about planting some super tree material. So in the long term, I'm going to be doing what he's saying. I'm going to be growing my own super tree. But sagebrush, which I make my foreground trees with, that's illegal to get out of Colorado anyway. Which is why I'm not telling you where mine came from.
Right.
Realistically, mine was probably planted before like the Environmental Protection Agency or anything existed, picked before any of those agencies existed. So I'm probably safe, but
right.
It's old, dried out. It's awesome. That stuff, but there's no substitute for it. There's nothing out there that does what Super Tree and Sagebrush does for you.
Well, I am going to try to make a wire trap. I'm going to try to do one. wire tree about 8 to 10 inches tall.
That's awesome. Look
I
forward.
know it's going to need a whole lot of wire
Yeah.
and rubber latex, but I'm thinking I want to try to do one just so I can say, yeah, I did it, forget it, I won't do it again, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
A few strands of number 12 Romex wire. That'll
Really?
give you all the wires you need.
I was thinking he's
Probably
smaller.
cut it about 1.5
So
2 feet long.
Well, the problem with Romex is you would have to try to separate it, untwist it.
That's not a problem.
It's
Once
not a
you
problem.
take that, once you take the insulation off of this stuff, pretty much starts falling apart anyway.
Oh, he's talking about stranded wire. Yeah,
Yeah,
still.
stranded wire.
All the Romex I messed with was solid core.
Okay, yeah.
Me too.
Just get stranded 12 gauge wire.
Yeah,
I've
that's
done it.
for all the wiring on my layout is straight. I use stranded wire for everything, and you'd have to cut a pretty long piece of that stuff to make a decent sized tree. What Tower used, Jimmy? We were just talking about that. He made a 4-inch tree, and he cut his wire like 16 inches long to make a 4-inch tree.
That was 2.5-inch tree.
Oh my God, 2.5-inch tree. He cut
Or
it
2
long.
3/4 of an inch. Yeah, he cut like 18-inch long wires to make a 2 3/4-inch tree.
So I'd have to cut at least 3 feet, 3.5 feet, 4 feet to try to make the kind of trees I make.
Yeah, if Professor says wire trees, use large diameter electric arc welding cable.
Wow.
And I guess I could go over to that shop that I retired from, and if they're not looking, I know they got a couple of Lincolns in there I might be able to get a couple sections off of.
Can you see that, Johnny?
Yeah, hang on. Alright.
That's a 6-inch wire tree. I
Oh,
made
cool.
one.
I didn't know you made one.
Yeah, I made one. I think started off with 21-inch, and it's fluoro wire is what I used.
Fluoro wire. Yeah, that's what he used in that video we watched, was fluoro wire.
Yeah. But
Well, that looks pretty good.
That's all the farther that I got.
Yeah, you're going to have to paint another layer of goop on that or something, but...
Well, there's no goop on it at all. It's just the bare wire.
Okay, that's why the camera don't show that. It really does. It looks like a tree. It has trucks in a way that I can't reproduce with my method.
Loose skids.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
It does.
But
so
I think in order to get, an HO scale tree, like let's say a big old oak, which was what I was trying, this would be a really good in-scale tree.
Yeah.
So
I don't
you
think
could add more wire to get more branches, once you get the basic structure.
I don't think that looks bad for HO, really. I mean, it's not a great, big, huge tree, but still,
Sure.
the premise of a nice tree that's sitting on the side of the layout somewhere.
And how long did it take you?
Half hour at the most.
Really?
Right.
It took longer to take a piece of cardboard and wrap the floral wire around that and count out how many it was and keep it from getting kinked and stuff, trimming it off, taking it out of the cardboard, and then folding it in, cutting both ends then, and then folding it in half and starting that initial twist down here at the bottom. And once you get up to this point, count your numbers, split, count your numbers, split it. Count your numbers and split it. Because really, this branch that's sticking up,
We can't
here,
see.
well, this branch that's sticking up here, this one here that's sticking up, is actually part of these. See, let's see here, there's 1, 2, like 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Maybe I split one. This branch looks a little thicker, but basically all they are. They're just split.
Right. Tilt your camera up just a little bit if you can.
Did you follow Luke Howard's process for doing it? Is that the video?
Oh,
There
I
you go,
did
right
this. I did this like
Yeah.
last winter, dude. Not even this winter. I did this last winter. Or at
Well,
the
I like
beginning of winter.
I like it. I think it looks good.
I too.
When we first started talking about trees, 6, 8 months ago, whatever.
Well,
I,
the guy who literally wrote the book on modeling trees, Gordon Gravitt, who wrote books on modeling trees, uses the wire.
Yeah.
So it works. It's a good method, no question.
Right.
And I need to give it more serious thought than I had.
I think I made another one that's horrid, This was an attempt. I don't know how tall that I started with wires with this, but this one is just way too tall and too thin of wires.
Yeah, you gotta get more around the trunk.
Yeah, it was just when I used a thinner wire too, but this would be like a poplar tree here in Michigan, They've got a long straight trunk and then they split, or I could take another one of these and intertwine it, but a lot of these longer strands up here need to be trimmed off, it was just, and this took 10 minutes, just messing around. That was just a quickie, and I didn't have enough wire to begin with. I was just going for length, trying to get height to see how tall you could get one.
How much wire did you use on that large one there? Do you have any clue? Was it one spool of the?
No, that first one, that little 6-footer, was a pack of wire that I bought at Walmart, like pre-cut at like 21 inches or something like that. And I just folded it in half and started twisting. And I think there was like 25 strands in there or something. So I've got a spool and then another spool, and you could, I bet you could get probably 4 trees out of a spool of fluoro wire.
How much is a spool of fluoro wire?
$2.
Yeah, $2, $4 at the most. From
Walmart.
Yeah, get it at Walmart. Don't get it at Michael's. But Wally World Myers, I'd always look at one of those first.
Whoever was asking me about these mother molds being so thick, I'm unboxing this big one. I've already unboxed the other two. I would recommend anybody doing these. I used for sale sign on the 20,000s styrene for the bottom on all of them, and then used 40,000 styrene for the sides. Well, being the cheap guy that I am, I thought, well, I'm going to use the 20,000s cheap for sale sign styrene for the sides of the bigger ones here, and I don't know if you can see how much that bowed out.
No, you gotta lower it down. Oh yeah, now I see it.
Can you see it? Yeah. How much it's bowed. So it works, but really bowed out a couple of spots, which ain't gonna hurt nothing. But there, I got mother molds for everything. All my woodland scenic rock, little rocks, anyways. I noticed a little bit of the plaster's gotten in some of these smaller ones. I knew that was going to happen, but it's just a matter of flaking them out, like this one here. I might have to use a razor to dig these out, though. I might maybe try to get these out now before they get too hard. See, I got way too much in that one. I didn't have the end taped down good. There we go. Now what I'll have to do when I pour these is like maybe put some saran wrap over this and then set these down in the saran wrap, because these are going to overflow a little bit right onto this and get glued in like these ones are now. I don't have that problem with these because I have a nice wide lip of rubber going around, so any extra plaster will be on the rubber anyways. Guess I could take all these out. Don't need to leave them in here so it can start drying better. Well, these are easy to get out compared to these, let me tell you.
Well, the black is a lot smoother too. It probably doesn't let that plaster adhere to it as well.
Well, and another thing is this has got a piece inside the mold. If it was just the rubber, you could peel the rubber out, but trying to get it out while you still have a hard piece inside the mold.
Yeah.
So where's the difficulty? I'm able to take my thumb and just peel the sides on these and peel them right out of there.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Phil, you're busy.
So bad.
Who wants to do an after show?
Is it that time already?
Yeah.
I just missed it.
Yep.
The witching on. Hi, bud.
Hey, Bob.
There. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I was fighting with my mic. I didn't want to turn it back on. Yeah, I'll go start an after show. No problem. It'll be in the
Thank you.
G Plus community.
Yeah. Professor, real quick, I don't know if you heard Andrew, but Andrew was asking you if you'd be interested. He's trying to do a Friday night Australian live show like we're doing here tonight. He wanted to ask if you'd be interested in being in that. You can contact him. He's Hobo Creek, or Andrew Gilmore in G Plus, because he joins us here in our hangouts, which we do have on weekends. So if you got a little time, be glad to have you join us in a hangout. So, alrighty. Let me get set up here and I'll wind this one up.
Sorry.
All right, Phil's going to have a show, after show going here in just a few minutes. So if you don't get an invite to it, go check the Google Plus YouTube Mile Railroader site. It will be posted there. So you going to try and take that one out now, Jim?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just stop presenting to get you back up there, and we'll just finish show off with the unmolding.
With the frustration of this one might come out easy, but I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, this one's gonna be another bear. Tell you, I took that. The tunnel portal one was real easy to take out. but these ones that's got
Different.
right, different ridges and
Edges.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah, facets to it.
Shows you how tough this rubber is, though.
It's 6-inch putty knife out.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to reach for. I was hoping I could get the pop out without it, but just so you guys can see it.
You need to tilt the camera down just a little bit when you get time.
This way?
Down, yeah. Okay. A little bit more. Well, that's
Okay, I forget about the...
yeah.
You can hide your chicklets.
I was just trying to show how much force I was putting on this to try to get it started.
Yes. Now you gonna have that much trouble when you start pouring new ones?
No, well, the first one that I poured, yes. What I did was I sprayed them with a cooking spray. I did one with a flour in it. Sprayed the mold with the cooking spray, like Pam cooking spray with flour.
See? Cooking stuff.
Yeah, and then I took a tissue and wiped out the excess.
So what is this in the mold?
It's a store-bought tunnel portal wall,
Oh, okay.
and I don't want to buy all the store-bought ones, so I bought one. Wow.
It's a tight fit.
Oh, yeah, well, it's molded to it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mother mold, Bob. The
Mm-hmm.
piece in here is a store-bought one. I'm just making the mother mold for the store-bought one. This isn't something I've molded.
Oh, yeah, you're building your replicating mold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess I could do like commercial TV and break off from right now and say stay tuned till next week to see a conclusion.
There you are.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Actually, I'm starting to get down in the side here. If I can get that down in there, 1/4 inch or so, I broke the mold. Gosh darn it. That's okay. That's all right. It's not going to hurt me too much. I can make that piece back on here because the mother mold's only to help hold the shape. So just not break the rest of it. Yeah, I did. Broke another corner.
Oh,
Man. I think
Well-
this thing is glued to the bottom.
Yeah. You know what, Jim, I think I would do is, before I pour that master, I think I'd try and coat that rubber with something like coatable oil or, because you just got to break that mold to get that out of there. It has
I'm
to hear it itself.
Boy, yeah, it's just coming apart in pieces now.
Yeah.
It's still stuck in there.
piece of
Yeah,
cake.
well, that's the first one out of all of them that's broke on me like that. And maybe I didn't let it dry quite enough. I'm wondering if I couldn't. Because all it's doing is holding the shape of the mold for you. It's not doing
Yeah.
any work. So I might be able to just glue these big chunks right back together again and be fine, because like I say, it's only to hold the mold in place.
For
Okay,
sure.
so you got to put that mold back in place. So you take out the master that's in that.
Right. Here's the original.
So you just kind of lay that back down in your holder or another.
Yeah, just the
Okay.
rubber itself, yeah. And then pour.
Okay.
Fill it with see, this might have been the problem right here, and I'll show you as soon as although I did get one out, didn't I? Yeah, I did. There. See, these have ridges on here.
Mm-hmm.
That might have locked that in here somewhat. But now, instead of just laying that and pouring it and hoping nothing moves out of shape, you just lay it back into the mother mold. Pour your plaster in there,
Mm-hmm.
let it dry, and then pop this back out. Again, I don't know how well this is going to work to try to glue this together, but I will try before I mix up more. And maybe I didn't have my plaster mixed up quite enough. Maybe I might have hit it too thin. Not enough plaster Paris to water ratio, because I lost count on these last two when I was mixing it. So it might have been that. I might have tried taking it out just a little bit too soon. I didn't have a chance to really harden it. It was still pretty soft. So there's a couple things. But as long as I got this basic shape here, the insides, that's all that's really important anyway. So I'll let this all dry. And if you can see the water on my mat here, it's still pretty wet yet. So I might have done it.
A plaster thing, right?
Huh?
It's made out of plaster.
The mother mold is, yeah. Yeah, I might not have done it, or I might have done it too soon.
You could mix up some more plaster, use it as cement, and put it back in some sort of little mold there and bolt it together.
Well, yeah, I mean, even white glue or hot glue or anything like that will hold it together. It's just again, it's just to help hold your rubber mold in perfect shape.
Well, you could use some duct tape. Just strip it out and lay it down in there.
And this is actually a pretty thick mold. It may not even really need one, but it's fun doing it.
All right.
Alrighty. End the show with a blooper, huh?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to try this one more time. Alrighty, looks like we've had another good show tonight. So we've run over a little bit. We had to watch Jim try and release his mold out of the master. Unfortunately, it kind of broke up on him, but nothing to cry over. It can be fixed. So let's see. I guess I better get my cheat sheet out here. All right, so once say keep checking back in on the YouTubeMallBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, the eMag, and the live show schedules. The live show is once every month. It's on the third Saturday. We just had one last weekend with Big Bill. His guest was Barry and Mike and Ray Bobell. Ray was showing how he does maintenance on steam engines. It's a good show. The eMag is bi-monthly, comes out every other month. We just had one come out this month. Yeah, this month here, which is another really good show magazine. JD and his crew did a great job on that. Tuesday night hangouts presentations are now every other week. We have basically 2 a month. Some months they have 5 weeks. We'll have an extra there. Thursday night general hangouts are every week, Thursday night. Same channel, same time. All shows are 9 o'clock Central Time. So you'll have to check your timetable, see what time they'll be in your time zone. You can go to the website, sign up for the eMag, so that way when it comes out, you'll get a notification in your email that it's out and ready to be downloaded. It's a PDF file, so you can pretty much read it on any platform, so you can have it whenever you want to read on it. I want to say thank you for participating in tonight's Hangout. Thank the panel guests, Paul, Andy, Andrew, Mr. Hawks. Appreciate you coming in tonight. It's always interesting to watch what you're doing. Jim was here, Phil. I want to thank the people in the Q&A, professors. Good to see you as always. Curtis, Dwight, appreciate y'all being in there. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. And with that said, we'll say good night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next Thursday night. Same time, same channel. Good night.
Good night. Good night.